Well, welcome back to the homestead. It's mid-April and it's a beautiful day, and we're going to try and spend it out here in the garden getting it planted and ready to go for this year. So the first thing I want to take a look at is my trellising. So over the winter I redid a lot of my trellises, but I didn't get to this last row. I have 3 rows that are like this, where I just have a cattle panel suspended on T-post. And I really liked it, but what I would do is I'd plant my purple hull peas or zipper peas, any half runners. I would plant a row down both sides of this trellis, and then as the tendrils grow out, I'd pick them up and weave them into the cattle panel to keep them out of the row. But what I noticed is the tendrils get up to the top and I ran out of room. It would have been nice to have just a little bit more room up there. And also at the bottom, the tendrils had to get very long before they were long enough for me to pick them up and get them into the trellis. And by that time, they were already out into the aisle and getting stepped on and damaged. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these cattle panels off and we're going to raise them up about 16 inches. And then I've got some more cattle panels, and I'll cut 3 squares off of the other cattle panel, and I'll bring it in and attach it at the bottom, so that the top is a little bit higher and the bottom is a little bit lower, and that way the tendrils don't have to be quite as long before I can pick them up and wind them into the trellising. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this trellis down, get it raised up, and then we'll cut the other one and bring it in and attach it. So now that we've got these panels raised up, we're going to cut the strip to put along the bottom. So I've got a full cattle panel laid out here on the ground, and I'm just going to cut the top 3 rungs off of it, and then come down and come up from the bottom and cut 3 rungs. There'll be a real narrow strip from the middle that I'll take out, and then that'll give me a half piece to put on both of my trellises. Now that I got my panels cut, the only thing I got to do is attach it to the ones that are on the T-post. And to do that, I'm just going to use these, they call it a shoat ring or a hog ring, and we're just going to clamp it around the bottom wire of the one that's on the T-post and let it hang down. So this is what the hog rings come in. You see, and then this is the pliers that you use to attach them. So the way it works is it's a spring-loaded plier. You have to open it up, put your hog ring in it, and then it'll hold it until you put it around the wire and squeeze it. So, all right, Laura, you want to raise one of these up for me? Alright, so we've got our 2 trellises modified now, and you can see we've got probably about 6.5 foot, maybe 7 foot of trellis up at the top. Then down at the bottom, the trellis now is maybe 10 inches off the ground, so it's much closer. And since we use the hog rings, you can flip this up during the winter if you want to amend your soil or anything like that. You can flip it up to get it out of your way. Now, when you're doing this, if you can come in and zoom in on these panels, all of your wires, horizontal wires are one side and vertical are on the other. So you want the vertical wires to be next to your T-post and the horizontal wires to be facing out. And that way, when you flip this up, these vertical wires won't be in each other's way. If you have your cattle panels turned around the other way, they're going to bind up some. So that's all there is to that. All right, so now that we've got that done, let's go ahead and see if we can't get some peas in the ground, get them planted.
Okay.
So for planting these, I just use a 28 penny nail, and I come wherever I'm going to put the seed at, make a little hole till it goes down to the dirt. Then I'll drop 2 seeds down in the hole, and then I'll just scratch the sides of it a little bit to fill it in. And then I move down to the next hole. And that's all it is to planting in this Back to Eden method. So we don't have to scratch the mulch back. We don't have to hoe the row or anything like that. We just punch a hole, put the seeds in, and scratch sides of it to cover the seed. Alright, so we're about to wrap it up for today, and I want to walk you down each one of the rows and show you what we've got planted. But we didn't just kill ourselves out here all day long. We've taken breaks and ran some errands during the middle of the day, and I still think we got a pretty good bit of stuff done. So let me show you what's on each row so far. Alright, so this first row of 2 arches here, the first arch has cucumbers on both sides. The second arch, we have nasturtiums planted on both sides of it, and then we had some extra tomatoes, so my wife's planted 1 tomato plant on each side as well. And then down here, from this post down to the end of the row, we've got Clemson okra. And then down on these 2 single trellises down here, this one and this one, we have purple hull peas planted, a row on each side of the trellis. And then this single trellis up here, we have a row of tomatoes on each side. I've forgotten the varieties, but we've got tomatoes on both sides, and each one is a different variety. Then up here at the first trellis on this row, these are all arches on this row. We've got a Turk's gourd over here and a daisy gourd over there. They're both like decorative gourds. The next trellis, we've got rattlesnake green beans on both sides. And we have eggplants, a single eggplant in the middle of each of those. And the next side, we've got another single eggplant between those 2. And this is going to be yard-long green beans on this trellis. And between the next 2, we again have an eggplant planted between the 2 trellises. And we have Kentucky Wonder pole beans on this arch. And then we have 2 more eggplants between there. And on the last one, we have a butternut winter squash on this arch. And moving over to the next row, we have zipper peas all the way up this row. And then coming around to the next row of arches, this entire row of arches is butter beans on both sides. And then over on the last row is another row of zipper green peas all the way up this row. All right, so that's not everything we're going to plant in the garden, but that's everything we're going to get planted today. So until next time, y'all just keep checking back.